Good evening. My name is Hsu Oh, and this is my wife Leslie, and we founded the Hepatitis B Initiative. We're privileged to speak with you tonight and see so many people who are doing brilliant work on so many different aspects of this disease. We're grateful to all of you for coming to our event and supporting our efforts to fight hepatitis B. I'd like to especially thank our hardworking volunteers, our funders, Daphne Kwok from the President's Advisory Commission on AAPIs, Representative Honda and his staff. There's no greater threat to the future of hepatitis B than the energy and intelligence of the people here today. And thank you for coming tonight. Tonight we want to share our story, talk about why we founded the initiative, and ask for your continued support.
18 years ago, my brother phoned me in the middle of the night. He was at home, about an hour away, and I was in the dorm room. He was in tremendous pain, and he kept repeating, "Please don't tell Mom and Dad." And a few days later, we learned that my 17-year-old brother had liver cancer, and that both he and my mom had hepatitis B. Despite our prayers, my brother died shortly after his 18th birthday. He was a senior in high school, and I was a sophomore at UCLA. My mother and I come from a long line of artists, so the days that followed my brother's death, we both sat in front of our computers, writing down our grief. Words were the only way we could figure out, make sense of what happened. A week later, my mom found out that she had cancer too. She chose to finish writing her book about John's battle against cancer and keep her disease a secret. You see, my mother blamed herself for giving John hepatitis B. She had always been overly diligent about our health checkups, so she was furious that nobody informed her about the vaccine. Since doctors informed us that Asians contract hepatitis B mostly from mother to child during birth, my mother obsessed about how she could have gotten hepatitis B. She wondered whether it was the immunization process in Taiwan, where they used to administer shots with the same needle. The worst questions that she asked herself were, was this all my fault? Did I kill my son? A few weeks before I turned 21, my mother died mostly alone because she didn't want anyone to know about her situation. Fueled by grief, I founded several organizations. One of them survives today as the Hepatitis B Initiative. HBI began in 1997 when I was a student at Harvard School of Public Health, and in 2002, Thomas and I expanded it to the DC area. We never imagined that nearly 13 years later, HBI would be operating in several states, screening and vaccinating thousands, and raising awareness on a national level. Recently, I wrote a foreword for my mother's book, which was translated into Chinese and published in 1995. It was about a year after she died. They are republishing it again this year, and apparently people are Xeroxing it all over the world. In our advocacy, Thomas and I discovered that silence is hepatitis B's power. Hepatitis B thrives under a cloak of stigma, where chronic hepatitis B carriers like my mother prefer to be silent about their condition. I think it's interesting to note that my mother never mentioned hepatitis B at all in her book. Her omission has empowered us to devote our lives to rooting out this silent killer. An Alaskan elder once explained to me that it's important to examine the motivation behind silence. If it is based on fears, usually of death or stigma, then the silence comes from a dysfunctional place. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Kira, I started to write again. I realized that elders all my life have instructed me to save face, act as if it never happened, better not to talk about it. Before I had Ethan, I completed my MFA and wrote a memoir about the years that followed Mom and John's death. I was surprised to discover that I wrote about breaking silence by openly discussing hepatitis B and telling a secret of my own. I hope that our story brings courage to all of you to protect yourselves from hepatitis B. Mom and John were extremely passionate about life, and I know they continue to live through HBI's efforts and your support. And for that, I will eternally be grateful.
And that's why screenings and vaccinations are so important. This year, by targeting high-risk groups in our community, we've educated over 2,300 people, screened over 1,400, with over 110 positive results and vaccinated over 500 individuals. So finally, Leslie and I would like to say to the people in this room, the hopes of the world rest on you and your colleagues. If you show the world that we can end this disease, you'll unleash the energy and the caring and the commitment we need to meet that goal. So keep on fighting and never lose heart when things go wrong. This is a tough time for nonprofits, and we could really use your support to continue our fight. We're not done and will not stop working until hepatitis B is eradicated. Thank you very much.